call to order the May 12th, 2025 Johnson County Council meeting. We can start with a roll call. Can you? Present?
Present.
Present.
Here.
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 Present.
Okay, and I'm going to give an indication, so if anyone would care to join me, please bow your head in prayer. And it says, Lord, I just want to take this moment to thank you for bringing us together today. We ask again for your wisdom, your patience, and your spirit of cooperation as we attempt to work for the good of our community. Help us to lead with honesty and care for others in all that we do. And we ask it all in your precious name. Amen. You'll stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, one change on tonight's agenda. Item C4, Local Public Health Services, 1161 Health, has been pulled from the agenda. So that being the only change, accept a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion.
So moved as amended.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Dittmers, a second by Mrs. Graves. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. I'm going to open the floor for public comments. It's limited to agenda items only and 5 minutes per person. So if there's anyone who has any public comments at this time, please approach the podium. Seeing or hearing none, we will move on. Item B on the agenda is our consent agenda, and by a single motion, this board approves these items, which may include salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. Any items listed on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member and moved to the regular agenda. So of the 4 items on the consent agenda, is there any that anyone wishes to remove? If not, I'm prepared to take a motion.
Motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a first by Mrs. Graves, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C on the agenda is salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. And the first up is innkeeper's tax collection.
Hello, I'm Ken Koski, Director of Tourism, and I'm here for the quarterly appropriation. Councilmember Graves and I had a productive meeting. I was able to answer many questions, and she provided a great tutorial on QuickBooks so I could pull the information needed. So this time I'll answer any further questions.
Yes, I'd like to add to that. I did send everyone an email regarding the discussion that Ken and I had last week regarding CBT. It was productive as well. We still have some ongoing conversations regarding how the CBT can work with the county. And at this time, I would make a motion to approve item C1 as presented.
We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Graves,
Second.
a second by Mr. Dittmers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Second up is the Department of Planning and Zoning. Hi, Michelle.
Good evening, Michelle Hanser, Director of Planning and Zoning. I'm here for agenda item 2 and 3 on the second page. But the request before you is to, for the remainder, requesting that the subdivision inspector and stormwater specialist salary be currently, that is currently being paid at 1197 stormwater fund be moved for the remainder of 2025 to the general fund 1157. This request is coming forward because our 1195 Stormwater Fund, which is a self-funded revolving fund, has been operating on low cash balance for the last 3 months. There's been significant analysis of how we got to that point, and things that we obviously need to change within that fund. But starting in 2020, that position got fully paid out of the Stormwater Fund, which in reality it is a split position with our subdivision inspector fund. So we're just requesting it to be moved to the 1157. I was able to, within my other budget items, to account for that shift. So it's actually no additional appropriation for our overall budget. So it's just requesting the 2 salaries be reduced because it's unspent salary to that new 1157 salary position.
Michelle, when, I understand that this is a self-supporting fund, but do you anticipate moving forward after all your analysis that this fund will be supportive of these salaries again in the future? And if so, when do you think?
So for the remainder of the year, because we had a state bill that was recently passed, it's not the State Bill 1, it's something that actually has to do with stormwater. That does actually affect our funds that come into that account. So I think for 2025 and 2026, if we leave it in the general fund, it gives us enough time to adjust our procedures and policies that in 2027, we should have a better aligned of how that position needs to be paid out of, and it will go back, to a portion of that will go back to that fund.
Thank you.
I have a question, Michelle, or maybe just a confirmation. This is not a new hire,
No,
correct?
yes, it's
This is
current-
just
yes.
a different way of funding a current position.
Correct.
And then I just had one other comment, but I think it kind of piggybacks on what Pam Burton just asked. I do want to make sure that I, as council member, and the other council members keep track as we move employees out of fee-based into general fund or food and beverage funds. If that is the intent to move it back, that we have a good timeline of when that is going to happen, just to, keep our eyes on that. If this position was hired because it was going to be fee-based and now it's not, I think council just needs to be made aware of that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make that statement for the record.
I have all intentions to divert it, at least some of, again, because it is a split position. So if anything, half or whatever that position is provided from that fee base goes back in 2027
Thank you.
And this would be effective,
for our first June paycheck.
so we're good with that, Amy? Okay. Any further discussion, any additional questions? If not, I'm prepared for a motion. Yes, yes, absolutely, thank you. 2 and 3 do go together, so the motion can reflect that.
Move to approve items C2 and C3 as presented.
Motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Mallers and a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, number 4 was removed. Item number 5 is acceptance of the Johnson County Board of Health's proposal to combine positions of the Johnson County Health Director and the Public Health Preparedness Coordinator with a minimum yearly salary of $116,344.43. So, who here is presenting this evening? Noah?
Dr. Falls went to the parking lot, he was here to present on that. I'm not sure where he just went for a second.
Okay. Should we move on past it? Is he coming back? Do you know?
Or we could move to postpone it till later in the
Okay.
meeting.
If that's okay with everybody, we
Yeah.
can move on to other business and then circle back?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a public presentation of the Johnson County Health Department for the 2024 annual report. And is he doing that as well?
Coming in.
No, Betsy's doing it. Okay, Betsy's going to go ahead with the annual report and then we'll come back to it, okay?
Hi, Betsy Swearingen, Director of the Health Department. I hope that you all have received your copy of our 2024 annual report. So I'm just here to report on it and answer any questions, concerns, talk about any particular division of the Health Department that you would like me to hit the highlights on or anything of the sort.
I don't have any questions, but I would like you to do a highlight, if you
Okay.
would, please.
I think with that, we are a very diverse health department. We offer so many different services. We have a communicable disease control. We have an environmental health department, emergency preparedness. We take care of food safety. We spread health education throughout the county. We lead an immunization program for both adults and pediatric residents of Johnson County, both in that immunization, both for those who cannot afford the vaccinations. We have a VOC, which is vaccine from the state, and then we have insurance that vaccines that we provide with insurance. We have a vital records department that provides birth and death certificates, paternity affidavits, adoptions, everything that you need with regard to your vital records. And we're blessed this year that we are now able to offer not only birth and death certificates to the residents, for the residents of Johnson County that were born in the county and die in the county, but we can do those statewide as well. We also have a large vector control program that we partner with the Marion County Public Health Department on. And we have a breast cancer awareness grant that we are able to provide screening and diagnostic services for the citizens who are may not be able to afford that through insurance or don't make enough money to have those services. And then we also have a new asthma program, and we run a pretty vibrant housing and indoor air quality program.
Awesome. Does anyone have any further discussion or any questions of Betsy in regards to her 2024 annual report?
I have a question. When you say that you do breast cancer screenings, are you saying you actually have the equipment? No.
I kind of spoke on that, Melinda. I apologize. We actually take the IDCAT grant. It's a breast cancer grant that we then help promote those funds and align the people that qualify for that grant program. And we partner with JMH and Franciscan for those screening services, and they offer those at a reduced rate to us through the grant.
Okay, so basically, just so I understand, you're given money, and then people who come needing a screen, you line them up with that money and send them off to JMH to get their screening done.
Or Franciscan, yes. And then, we go through we partner with St. Thomas Clinic too. Dr. Paul Zek on our board and his students donate their time to diagnose too, and then move them on for mammograms if necessary and biopsies.
Okay. Anybody else? Any further discussion, questions? Thank you, Betsy.
Sure.
Okay, and we will move back to under C, number 5, with Dr. Qualls. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Jeff Qualls, Johnson County Health Officer. Thank you for your time this evening. I've been the health officer for 4 years now, and I'm finally say COVID is over. I'm sure you guys have heard that, but it's really over. Recently, it's been brought to the attention of the Board of Health that one of our employees was being compensated, I'll say in an unorthodox manner at this point. I'm referring to our director, who also serves as our emergency preparedness coordinator. I want to be very candid tonight. This has been a difficult time for us as we've dealt with this, because there's no intent here of misleading anybody in any way. Under the current guidelines, we can no longer continue to compensate her for the dual role which she's been serving. By that I mean as director and also as our emergency preparedness coordinator. I think you understand what the director does, but the emergency preparedness coordinator is the person who's in charge of our responses to a lot of potentially critical events. That's everything we've had in the past 10 years, from floods to tornadoes. And I always say that's the person who has us ready for our train derailment, should that day come. Likewise, plane crash, you name it, big events like that we've had an excellent response to in this county. In light of this information I've shared here tonight and emails I've shared with each of you recently, the Board of Health has opted to unite these positions into one role with one salary, Director/Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. I anticipate that in the future, these roles will have to be separated as our county continues to grow in size. Our population is now already up to 172,000. It continues to grow by 1 to 2% every year. In an email I've spelled out to you, and I think I left that information back there, we've made a proposal to combine these two roles as director and emergency preparedness coordinator into one role with one salary rather than different modes of compensation. At one point, she was reimbursed both as an exempt employee and paid an hourly wage for hours work done outside the office. I'm here tonight to entertain any questions you might have about this. I hope I've spelled it out in emails and provided enough information for you guys to at least have a discussion about this and move forward.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Happy to entertain any questions.
Yes, sir. So you understand the problem of the separation of who's responsible for what and all that the council is responsible for the appropriation of each of the positions, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I think where this gets muddy is, we have a board and we have you over the Board of Health, and then we also have a director. And I think when we're appropriating the funds for these positions, we're thinking they're going to be separate people. And I was quite surprised. So I'll just leave it to others for some discussion, but
I'm happy to comment on that at this
yeah,
point.
But I wanted to say that I'm not going to be in support of this, but go ahead.
I understand that. I say I inherited a well-oiled machine when I became the health officer. Dr. Mormon had been in this position for 32 years. Well, when I first came on board, obviously the biggest thing we had to deal with was COVID, so I had to learn all that and jump through those hoops before I could really get into the nuts and bolts, you might say, of how the health department works and what my responsibilities are. Our director had been an environmental health specialist for many years, and was a non-exempt employee at that point, but also served as our emergency preparedness coordinator. When she moved up to directorship, we didn't have anyone suited to fill the role of the EP coordinator at that time, so we opted to keep her in those roles because of her valuable experience. She's big in central Indiana, District 5, that's Marion County and the surrounding counties, does a lot for us there as well, and her leadership is hard to put a price on at this point. So that's how it has evolved this way. I certainly see your point and appreciate it. We're the 11th largest county in the state right now, and I anticipate we could move up. We won't be moving down, I promise you that. As our county gets bigger, it's obvious that these roles do need to be separated, and that's certainly my plan and the plan of the Board of Health in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would
Any
like,
other questions?
All right, let's see. Do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. Do you want to go next?
yeah, so since you mentioned that, you know, the other counties and we're one of the largest counties, I know WIS is doing a salary study for the county council. And WIS was asked to take a look at this request. And they were unable to find any other county in Indiana that has these two positions combined. And just to be clear, it's a full-time director position and a part-time PHEP position that is being requested to combine. When I looked at the former job description for the director and then this new proposed combining of the two separate roles, it is apparent that the job description was written to be tailored to the person, the individual, and not necessarily the position of county health director. And I do have some concerns about that, in that it is a full-time director, a part-time PHEP. How is it going to be possible to perform both those duties effectively when no other county is doing it that way?
You know, that's what I'm alluding to. I think it's obvious to me, I believe, that at some point we need to separate these jobs. You know, we currently have someone who's been doing this a long time, well tenured and experienced, and is capable of juggling both. But as the demands of each position increase over the next few years, I don't see it being plausible or effective. So that's why it's necessary to split these roles, in my opinion.
Do you have an idea of when you're thinking of splitting them?
I don't want to put an exact timeline on it now, but it's within the next 4 years and probably sooner.
I guess I would have concerns with that date if it's broken. You know, maybe we need to rip the Band-Aid off and, you know, cross-train now. If this person has been serving in a dual role for 10 years and no one else in the department knows how to do the PHEP side of it, I don't know that, in my opinion, that serves the taxpayers of Johnson County well. Maybe it's time to just make the split and get it fixed now.
I tend to agree with you there. You know, the sooner the better. Like I say, I don't want to put too rigid of a timeline on it. We got to, you know, we got to get our ducks in a row and have people ready. You know, these roles just can't be jumped into abruptly. We need someone who's got experience in public health. Ideally, they got a little experience in, you know, EMS as well. Because we share these funds with a lot of our EMS crew. We, you know, distribute these funds to the police department, the fire departments, to the coroner's office, for example. We're not hoarding this money within the health department. We run a surplus every year. If you look at our, you know, annual reports, we're frugal. There's no doubt about that. And at the same time, I'm very respectful of, you know, everyone up there and your diligence on being frugal with the county's money. At the same time, I agree that these positions need to be split, and the sooner the better, because it also presents opportunities for more leadership within our building as we get larger and larger, you know.
Mr. Dittmers?
Yeah, I've got a comment and a question. It feels like, Dr. Qualls, that she has the capacity to do both jobs now, because she's doing both jobs. Is that a fair statement? In other words, she's got a full-time job and she's also performing the duty of the part-time job, so she's doing both functions today and has the capacity to do so.
Yeah, and I'll say, and that's at a reduced rate. You know, when we split these two roles up, you know, the combined salary of the two positions will be more than, you know, what we're spending right now.
So that was going to be
So that's the advantage to it.
That was going to be my next point, and I think that the conversation up here is the right one to have. There needs to be a plan to separate these, but for today, it's being done, and because other counties don't do it this way, in my view, that's irrelevant. It's not relevant to what we need to do today to solve what is a problem.
the right term to use, probably a situation, I'll say it that way, that's a result of an accepted past practice that we are now addressing. Is that a fair way to
I think that's a reasonable assessment of the current problem. Yeah.
So if we have a plan in place and succession's important to develop someone inside the health department to Michelle's point, take this role on, or at least develop the separation in the job descriptions, then we're going down the path of addressing the problem long-term while we've got a short-term solution in place. That's kind of where my mind goes, and a more cost-effective short-term solution in place because it's status quo, but we've addressed the issue.
Yeah.
That's sort of where I find myself, and I guess to that point, I find myself kind of supporting the request because of that, with the caveat that there's a plan in place to address the issue long-term.
Yeah, because if we don't, I mean, it's going to become, overburdensome, and one person can't, do these two roles. And there's another county close by, I believe it's Hendricks County, who's their emergency preparedness coordinator also serves as their head environmentalist. Well, that's one of the functions right now, you might say, of our director is kind of serving in that head environmentalist role, because she oversees, that department as well. I'm not saying I want to create a bunch of, chiefs and no Indians, because we need a lot of Indians at the health department. We're going to need more environmentalists as, we get more restaurants. There's new applications every year, and we're struggling to keep up with them. We're doing it, don't get me wrong, But obviously, as you get more Indians, you do need more chiefs.
I have a follow-up question to that. John and I think, are kind of talking the same language here. So what are we missing by having these two roles combined as one? If we are one of the larger counties, what are we missing by having these combined instead of separate?
I don't think I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm speaking to this microphone or not. I don't think our taxpayers are suffering. I don't think there's any services that aren't being provided to our taxpayers. But I know it is a little bit of a strain, I want to say, on the individual, and also, a strain on, some of my other employees, because I think sometimes they don't have enough leadership and directorship just because the director is spread so thin.
Okay.
So I have one other question, and I want to involve legal with this if I can. Can we combine positions? What does it take to do that?
Can the council combine positions?
Do we have any authority to yay or nay on combining the positions?
So the council's role here would be to set the salary for a combined position. If the Board of Health and the health officer want the position to be combined, under the statute supports their ability completely to determine those roles. It does not support council's ability to reject that necessarily, but the council does have the ability to set the salary at what you feel should be set. It's a tough one here, and I think Michelle made a good point about WIS. We did send it through WIS. However, there isn't a comparable. There just isn't, because every county that we looked at, including smaller counties, have full-time role. So they kind of have to just look at the duties and combine them. There also is the concern, because you guys are in charge of, WIS in the salary study that Michelle brought up. Moving forward, we have a position that's tailored one. So say, if the current director leaves, then you have a line item and you have everything set for this role that, as far as we know, no one else is doing. So there is a concern as far as who would fill that. At that point, you would have to open up 2 then positions. Now we're actually missing 2. So it's just something to think about. You can table it for further discussion. It doesn't have to be done today. We can discuss.
Well, I'd like to speak to council, if I could, just for a second. This is the quandary that we have. we're responsible for positions. We're here talking about something outside of that, you know, of a person that's wonderful and has performed very well. However, our responsibility as a council is to the position. And so I would like for us to speak to that.
So, Mr. Dittmers, to you, I'm sorry, Mr. Bates, do you have any specific questions that would?
No, I'm just seeing this as, if it needs to be done at a later time. They're already saying it needs to be done. But I'm not sure it needs to be done at this moment in time.
Melinda, do you have anything?
I just have a comment. The time to plan is now. It's not later, it's now. And the plan we are a growing county and we don't want to get ourselves caught into a situation where we have an emergency and the plan that was thought about was never implemented. So if this is something we need to do and the situation has been created and hasn't been tended to in the past, and other counties have been more progressive in moving forward, we need to move forward. If you recognize a problem, we need to move forward with a plan to address it now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. We will move forward.
Can I make a comment real quick? It's my understanding, and Tiffany, I think said this, it's the board that combines the positions, not us.
Right.
And she's been doing both roles for how long? Several years?
At least 7.
And you're the part of the board overseeing her and her duties. Has she done a good job in both positions?
Yes, she has.
Okay, and we've received, you needed somebody in that emergency preparedness position to be able to get those Healthy Indiana funds?
Yes.
And albeit a
indeed.
year late, we did start getting those funds.
Yeah.
So, for the here and now, I think we need to fix the issue which he's proposing, and then you guys can work on getting this process going as a change and splitting them up. But I think on the here and now, I think we need to get this done. I think I agree with John on that.
Okay, everybody done? And I'll give my thoughts. I've put a lot of thought into this, been around a long time, personally have worked on that grant in the past. Here's my thought. We have no control over whether your board decides to combine those positions. I think that is a choice from your board. So therefore, that takes that out of our hands. We can tell you what we think and what we recommend, but obviously that is up to the health board. I personally am not prepared to change any salary or to make any changes at this point to anything financially. The situation has been worked out with legal and with payroll on to make it acceptable. In my opinion, I think we need to keep status quo until budget time. If you so choose to combine those positions, then in the regular budget process, we can discuss the amount of pay that we would consider at that time for that position. So I guess what I'm saying, what I would be in full support of, is from now and the remainder of the year until the new budget comes in, we change nothing. You can go ahead and combine the positions, present them at the next budget cycle, and then our only job at that point would be how much money we're going to give that position. So that's my thinking.
So for point of discussion, would the thing be to do is table this motion until the time of budget?
We could table the combining of the positions, but then they're requesting a yearly salary change in there. So I don't know, do we take a vote on that? Can that be tabled as well? How would we handle that?
What is your request? Just to, if you can table it now, it can still be paid the same way it's being paid currently.
So if we table this whole thing and choose not to readdress it until budget season, status quo would stay exactly as it is, correct?
Yes.
They can move forward and combine those positions and present that along with every other department in the county at budget time.
They could also separate them and ask for two.
Right. They could separate them, or you could present them as a whole. That gives you six months, basically.
So you're not talking fiscal year, you're talking
Calendar.
A
Calendar,
calendar.
okay.
Can you get these two positions separated for budget 2026?
It's gonna take some work. If that's what needs to happen, we're gonna do it.
So the worst possible scenario would be then that you would come back before us and say, no, we couldn't do it, so we're combining them. Then that would fall in our lane to say, well, we've understood that you've combined them, but this is all we're willing to pay.
Right.
Yeah. So
I-
it's kind of a catch-22 either way.
The proposal, that we have spelled out in the email based upon the recommendations from Wiz, the current compensation for the dual role is actually less than the combined compensation that she's currently receiving.
Yes,
You are aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
We,
So that's just my thoughts. So it was 116.13 is what
With.
what Wiz
for
recommended,
the,
the midpoint.
for the midpoint for the combined.
But your actual request was for 116,344.43, which is above the WIS recommendation.
And we, spent some time trying to crunch that number and trying to figure out how I came up with that 116, and I'm not sure where I came up with that number. I think it might have been an average of two other numbers, or
I have days like that.
I'll say splitting the difference is what I'll say, so to speak. But, the 114 is where we need to be. We need to follow the WIS recommendation.
Okay, I have a question, it's a question. You had mentioned that she's getting paid, you mentioned it, Dr. Qualls, that she's getting paid she's getting paid twice. So what is her total salary?
I don't have those numbers exactly in front of me. I think it combined 128, that range, 124, somewhere around.
I never in my life as a registered nurse, and I've hired many nurses myself, and I worked as a nurse. I've never known a nurse to make 120-some thousand a year, even in a leadership position.
Since you make that now, plenty.
And Betsy is, that position is not a nurse, correct?
No, it's not a nurse, but it is an executive or directorship position, so
Correct.
it's more highly compensated than.
Right. My whole point, it's not a registered nurse, it's a whole nother executive position.
Yeah.
But you have to be a registered nurse to do the job, correct?
You have to have a degree in public health to get hired in this county to be the director. Preferably a master's in public health is what I would say, but
But she is a bachelor's.
yes.
And how many years' experience?
That's where, the experience comes in, 25 years of experience in public health.
Okay. So I think everyone has had their chance to ask questions and give their opinions. As you can tell, we've all really looked into this and dug into it, and no one is questioning anyone's ability to do, we all want to do what's right here and work together.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your diligence.
So at this point, I guess I need a motion to either, accept this, table this, change this, whatever this board decides, but I do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to keep the positions separate because we already know that down the road, they're going to have to be separate. So,
I think you can make that motion because it's been determined it's not in our lane to combine it or not combine it. We legally cannot tell them yay or nay. They can combine it. Our only position in this is salary. So even though it states on here that this is a proposal to combine, we do not have the authority to vote on to combine this position or not.
so just so I understand then,
Pardon me?
just so I understand, we're here talking about, if we're not talking about combining or not, we're here to talk about the salary.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
So, Okay, then I'm not gonna make a motion then.
Yeah, point of clarification, if it dies for lack of a motion, then it by default goes toward the suggestion you had, which is it stays that status quo.
No, it would have to start completely over again. They would come back, same request, and we would approach it again. And I'm assuming that
In
that
the
would be.
meantime, it would remain status quo.
Yeah, but that would indicate that we don't have enough information to make a decision. So
What's-
I personally feel that we either need to address what we would do salary-wise if they combined it, what we would do salary-wise if they left it separate, or if we want to leave it status quo until the next budget season, and then let them make their decision on what they want to do, and then we would contemplate that salary during our normal budget cycle like we're doing
And
everybody else.
that's what I'm getting at. I agree with that.
That would have to be
How
a
do we get to
motion.
that point?
A motion would have to be
That
made to
was
do
just
that.
The motion, I thought that,
No, she was making a motion to combine them or not.
oh, I thought,
No.
I misunderstood, okay.
No.
That's where my question came from.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we would have to have a motion to table it, right.
Or suggest a salary
Yeah, the
for
initial,
the combined position.
Yeah,
That would start
Right.
effective,
and that would start July 1st is what we had in the
Right.
proposed.
okay.
Right, so
Yeah.
if we suggest a salary because they've told us they are gonna combine it, then that's what we would just, that's one vote that we could take.
I'll make a motion.
And that will save you money.
I'll make a
That's
motion.
another discussion, but, okay.
Well, wait, yeah,
Noted, though.
wait till you hear my motion. I will make an emotion. No, I will make a motion to move on C5 with the change in the yearly salary being that of the current Health Department Director approved salary for 2025, which I believe is $88,593, and I would need to confirm that number. So again, my motion would be to accept C5 with the change of yearly salary to $88,593, which is the current 2025 budgeted salary for the Health Director.
I'll second that motion.
I guess I don't understand, what, does that mean
Let's
that?
call for further discussion, so you go
Thank
right
you.
ahead.
Sorry about that. Does that mean that she would continue to do both positions, but her salary would only be $88,593?
She would be paid to be the Director of the Health Department at the 2025 budgeted salary of $88,593, if that is the accurate number. And
But she
I'll-
would continue both?
That would be their call.
That would be their call.
Okay.
We don't have a say in that.
Okay.
So I think what Michelle is saying is combine it if you choose, but for now, if we're gonna change anything, it's gonna be, we're gonna pay as the approved director's salary, and then you do what you need to do with the second position.
And that would be effective July 1st.
If we go, yes,
it goes through.
if
So
that
we have-
passes, that would be effective July 1st.
So should I reiterate the motion one more time for clarity
Yes.
and then further discussion? So my motion is to accept C5, which combines the position of the Johnson County Health Director and the PHPC, and pay that at the Health Department Director's current 2025 budgeted salary, which is approximately $88,593, to be effective July 1st of 2025. That was my motion, and then I believe I had a second.
Did you have a, oh, yeah, Melinda
She
second.
still seconds it.
Are you still gonna second that motion, Melinda?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So we have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Grave, a second by Mrs. Grismer. We're going to do a roll call vote on this. Amy, would you please?
Ron Bates,
Aye.
Glenn Timbers,
Nay.
Michelle Graves,
Aye.
Ian Burton,
Nay.
John Mallers,
Nay.
Melinda Grisenberg,
Aye.
Martin Myers,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Passes 4-3. So to be clear on what just happened here, We have just lowered the salary of our health department director to what it was approved
No.
for the 2025 budget.
We did not lower the salary for the director.
No, but I'm saying they're combined. The approval was to combine them, correct? So she was being paid currently 120 for both positions out of two different places, right? So we have removed the salary from over here and are only paying her as director for the budget here.
Yes, because the council, I don't believe the council ever voted to pay her for both positions.
And the request was to combine the position.
And the request was to combine the position, but when council approved these budgets for 2025, it was on the understanding that they were two separate employees. No one knew that they were being performed by one person.
Which was consistent with past practice, and there's no time given for an interim to correct this. We're just doing it.
Right. And the duties are still gonna be performed. If she continues to perform those duties, she cannot be paid for that?
You
That's my question for you.
Well,
They just combine the duties.
and so
They
now
make
we've
one
cut it
position.
by,
Well, that's not our problem. I mean, that's not our problem to fix. This has been going on for a long time. And it wasn't until we got WIS involved that is forcing the issue to be handled. It should have been handled a long time ago.
be consistent with what our practice has been the last couple of years, or last year, was to make these changes at budget time, and now we're just doing it in the middle.
Which,
Well, because it's a unique situation.
Melinda, to your point, I think is what Pam was getting at as far as leaving a status quo until we get to budget time, which would have given us time or given the board time to correct it. Yes.
Well, the board should have been doing this a long time ago.
Do not have that position filled, we are potentially abandoning a lot of funds from Health First Indiana.
Well, let me
And I
ask,
don't know how quickly I can get that other position filled.
The position is filled though, right? Because you just combine it.
You just made a request to combine it, so there is no more position.
It's one position
gone.
now, so those
It's
funds-
gone until you come back and say, no, wait a minute. I don't do that.
so the reason this is being addressed now is because you brought it forward on the agenda. And so you presented, we discussed, there was a motion, a second, and a vote, and now we're here.
And I see where you're coming from, I do.
And I think you were asked to give a specific date for when this could be resolved, and I don't know that any specific date was given.
I think I gave a January 1 to Mr. Bates.
I missed that then, if that is in fact true.
I never asked that question.
It was, he had mentioned that when I had asked, I think.
Okay, somebody, I don't see us getting it accomplished before then,
So at this point, to keep the meeting online, legal, I may need you to step in. So at this point,
The only thing that,
I honestly don't think that he's accomplishing what, or asking the questions he intends to ask. So at this point,
and pardon my naivete there.
Yeah, at this point, though, what you've asked for has been voted on. You ask for our approval to combine the positions, period. Not we might or we may, I want to combine them at this rate of salary. So what this board has stated is, yes, you could combine them, but we're not paying that, we're paying this, right?
right.
And that is under our purview,
And
correct?
to speak
set
to the point
salary?
about changing.
I'm
position-
sorry?
To speak to the point, Council Mueller's, we're talking about halfway through. So technically, this could still be addressed at budget time in the same way that, separating, having two separate positions. It doesn't really change that. It just, when the WIS is doing this for everyone, if you remember, this would actually be early to change it because everybody else is counting on WIS for 2026.
Right.
So there's nothing to say that this couldn't be asked again to raise it to this on the midpoint based on a combined salary for 2026.
But,
I understand that.
but it doesn't
Or
change the
separate.
It's
position.
about right now.
But what, it doesn't change the position, what he's saying is about right now.
Right.
So
And then
basically, the
the-
position would be, if it's carried status quo, but instead of it's the same rate of pay.
Right.
Which is taken from both places, it would now be for the director's pay.
Right.
And the
So-
fact is,
So-
it's not one position, it's still two duties. For better or for worse, it's two duties.
It's two
And we just
duties
cut the salary
that
of
require
an
more.
effective performer by $20,000 for no particular reason.
But that's the board to handle. That's not ours to figure it out for them.
Doesn't matter, it's still the duties being performed.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's no different than any other job where you're asked by your employer to do things and you're not getting extra pay. I mean, that's no different. So it's up to the board to get this straightened out.
okay, so there was no pay cut. The 88,000 or something is the pay for the director of the health department. I'm sorry, for that position of the health department. That's what was budgeted. That's what this position is paying. What has been cut is additional pay from another line item
Right.
because they were serving in the capacity of two positions. So since those have been combined, this board has just removed the access to that additional pay, as it should be. But catch-22 is, it goes back, if you choose to do the same job from now until the budget season, it's going to be done at the rate of pay that was approved for the director, correct?
And that goes back to.
Can I withdraw the request if you're not granting the salary? Because you're authorizing the combined role without the salary
We're not.
that we asked for.
We're not asking for you to combine the roles. This is what you guys have been doing. And you guys need to straighten this out.
So the
I
question.
agree.
The question to legal is, we've already taken a motion, we've had a second, and we have voted. Okay, so that's in the record. That's not going to change. So his question from at this point is, does he have another avenue to retract this request at this time? Correct?
I mean, if you all want to reconsider the vote,
I don't think
I have
that
a
the vote
suggestion.
needs to be reconsidered. I think his question is, can he reconsider the request?
And this comes back to my comment that it is apparent, this is the problem when you write a job description tailored to a person versus that position. That's why this quandary has happened, if you will. It is one position now, it is the director. Here's what 2025 director's salary is. That's the job.
And we need to avoid that in the future, like you say, writing a position for a person and not a position.
Right.
But I'm in a real catch-22 if I don't have somebody performing the role of the emergency preparedness coordinator, and we've totally removed her
I get it.
incentive.
Get it?
I have a question.
So we're
John,
gonna
yeah.
kick about $1.6 million to the side, and we did it in 2024, so we can do it again in 2025. Everyone will be just fine.
I have a question. Is this other position part-time?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we, as a council, appropriate that money as a part-time position at the discretion of the health board?
It's already been
It's already
appropriated as
appropriated
a
as a-
part-time position. We just weren't aware it was being paid to
It's already
an
there.
employee who already had a full-time job.
She was double dipping.
so.
I don't want to reach into a department and limit them on what they can do. This is the discussion I've had many times.
And the position's still there. It's a combined position now. That's what was just done. There is a job description as a combined position. So the duties are still to be performed at a combined position. That's how the request, the only difference here is the request was not for the salary, because in keeping with what you want to do, the salary consideration would be next year. But there is now a combined position. That's what just was voted on. That was presented by the health officer, so.
And the
The-
combined position is now at the director's salary.
Right. But it is a director slash public health preparedness coordinator position.
I think this is bad faith. I'm sorry. There was the issue of these things being separate, of one person doing both things. The presumption was we were going to try to fix that and combine them, which they suggested here. There was no indication that there would be a $20,000 pay cut as a result. I think this is bad faith. I'm sorry.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, it's gonna force people to act and start doing their jobs and making another claim.
And again, we need to stay in our own lane about what our responsibilities are here today. So as the one in charge of keeping the meeting moving, I don't know what I can do at this point. I don't know, I mean, short.
Do you want to reconsider?
Move to reconsider?
We did that once before on another situation. So but before we jump into anything, that was done in a meeting before. I had no idea, no clue that that could be done. So that would take, I guess, a motion and a second. And that motion is that to reconsider? Is it to offer an alternative?
Would want to reconsider the vote you just did, because that's what.
And
where
which
we're at.
may or may not change anything.
Correct.
And at that point, if we do that, then does he have the opportunity to say, hold up, I'd like to remove this from the agenda and come back at another time?
I mean, it's already on the agenda.
That's not,
Yeah, you would just consider another motion on the floor.
I'm sorry?
The new motion, if there's a motion to reconsider. If one of you want to do that.
So we have an active part-time person already?
No, there's nobody serving
There
in that
hasn't ever
position.
been?
No, not for a while, no.
Yeah, I think you'll notice we have several members of the community here tonight that, are interested in this and, want us to kind of see us moving forward, at least here in the short term, functioning as we currently are, with all due respect that these, positions need to be split up. That's why I have members of the Board of Health here tonight, I have members from the EMS community, and they're here and are willing to speak if you would like to entertain.
I don't think that that's necessary at this point. I think we all have a full understanding of what you want, what needs to be done, what's been done in the past. This is not something that the seven of us came into without putting a lot of work into this prior to.
I realize.
So we respect the public's input, but I don't know that they could, other than their thoughts and opinions on it, I don't know that they could give us any more information on what we have. So the way we stand now is if in fact there is another motion that needs to be made, now would be the time.
I move to reconsider the previous vote.
So that will take a second. We have a first by Mr. Dittmers, I'm sorry, Mr.
Second.
Mallers,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Dittmers to reconsider the previous vote of combining the positions and adjusting the salary to what was approved for this year's director, correct? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. So,
The motion is just to reconsider the previous vote.
just to reconsider the previous vote and
Take another motion.
yeah, then we'll have
It's
another
so
motion
fun.
after that. So, Amy, would you please start with a roll call vote?
Ron Bates.
Nay.
John Dittmers.
Aye.
I'm sorry, what? Did you say my name?
No.
Nay.
Ian Martin.
Aye.
John Mallers.
Aye.
Melinda Griesinger.
Nay.
Jonathan Myers.
Nay.
So it fails, so it stands as previously approved.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, moving on. we have Johnson County Public Library for a brief update. She looks like a card.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Lisa Littner, Library Director for the Johnson County Public Library, and I'm here to share with you some updates about JCPL. Next slide, please. Tonight's presentation was planned at one time to be the White River Branch update. The Johnson County Public Library has been working on improvement plans for White River Branch, which is approaching 40 years old. I was going to come here tonight and talk to you about renovation and a slight expansion to the building in White River Township. But with recent state legislation, we are putting this project on pause. And like I'm sure other government units who are trying to figure out what the SEA, our Senate Enrolled Act 1 has kind of impact for all of us. So this project is on pause. I did want to share, we recently completed a survey with students from the Statistical and Mathematics Department at Franklin College, who surveyed almost 300 of our residents about the project. And the top three things that that the folks of Johnson County indicated they wanted for the improvements at this location was dynamic early childhood learning space, increased comfortable seating, and a surprise to us was a nature trail. You can see we have a woods behind the library, and it was always part of our plan that if we were to do a nature trail in the woods, that we would fundraise through our library foundation for that part of the project. But like I said, SEA 1 is making us pause to try to figure out funding for the Johnson County Public Library in the upcoming years. Next slide. I thought it might be helpful to share just some information about JCPL, and I know you're already having a long evening, so we're going to breeze through some of the later slides. But this is the Johnson County Public Library's district. Kind of like schools, JCPL is one of 3 library districts in Johnson County. We represent the pink section. Greenwood, appropriately, is green for the Greenwood Public Library District, and I couldn't find a Edinburgh color, so I made them yellow. So the Edinburgh Public Library is an independent unit as well. And the next slide. We have 4 branch locations and also a library administration building in Franklin, as well as a bookmobile. So we service all that pink area of Johnson County with those locations. Next slide. And then I thought it'd be helpful to share with the council as well as the public how JCPL is funded. So half of our funding comes from property taxes. 40% come from local income taxes that we get a distribution from every single month. It's very automatic. And then 10% are some kind of what I call the oddball taxes, like commercial vehicle license, excise tax, and other things that I have to like Google to find out what are these things. So we get a very small percentage of that, as well as other income, like from people who pay to print copies at the library, use our copier machines, or maybe rent one of our community rooms for like a party or a for-profit meeting. We also receive support from our Johnson County Public Library Foundation and Friends. The support they provide allows us to do some really outstanding programs in the community, and that support in 2024 equals about 3% of our operating budget. Then we indirectly receive services from the Indiana State Library and also through the Institute for Museum and Library Services. And like most government units, we're going to see some changes with how we receive taxes. And just so you know, the property tax deductions that we're going to see, we are going to be able to weather in the next few years, at least through 2028. With those, we will tighten our belt like all the other government units and take care of that. I would like to point out, though, that our local income taxes, the way that is calculated and distributed is going to change for all public libraries who receive lit or local income tax starting in 2028. Instead of that sort of monthly distribution that we receive, we will annually, all the library districts receiving lit will have to come and petition their county councils for approval for that lit. And I just want to say that that is 40% of our budget. So in 2027, you will see Greenwood and Edinburgh Public Library and I coming to you and doing that petition process for local income tax. And like I said, we can really weather those property tax deductions, but we are absolutely necessary to receive local income tax to continue providing services as we do them now. The next slide is a brief overview of what is at risk if we lose 40% of our budget. Number one, we would be laying off staff. We most likely will have to close locations, most likely reduce hours, and then reducing or eliminating some of our programs and eliminating some of our resources, not purchasing as many new books, and reduced access to the internet. Next slide. I'm going to breeze through these next few slides. This is what JCPL is really, really concentrating on. We provide essential services to preschoolers and their families. We are often the first introduction to getting a love of reading to children before they go into kindergarten. We're sometimes the only place they get early childhood education. Next slide. We also spend a lot of our time supporting students in our community and homeschoolers with many different programs, and our STEAM camps and activities we do thousands of programs in the last few years just on science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We also have collection support for homeschooling families so they can come to us, and monthly programs at all of our locations. Next slide. The other area that we're strongly supporting are retired residents. We reach out to people where they are in the community, either with our bookmobile or with library visits. And we design special programs just for seniors. And one of our most popular and essential program is a partnership with the AARP, providing free tax prep. And I tell you, January 1st hits, people are calling, can I get a tax appointment? So essential services that support our older residents as well. Next slide. We are the absolute literary hub, not just for Indiana, but probably for this region. A few weeks ago, we had David Baldacci, fully funded by our Library Foundation, come to visit. And we had James Patterson last fall, also a program by our foundation. And then we have 6 rotating book clubs and have a local author fair every year as well. Next slide. And then did you know, these are the things I'm going to breeze through. We're more than books. You can check out Franklin Aquatic Center pool passes with us, or Freedom Springs. You can check out Idlejoy Museum passes so your family can go visit. We also have things like metal detectors or sewing machines that you might need once every 5 years, so you can come and check that out. If you've been wanting to learn how to play ukulele, come check one of those out before you buy one. We also provide free notary, and I'll say basic notary. Don't bring anything too complicated to us that you really need like a lawyer to do. We also provide free faxing, which my mind is boggled how many people need faxing services. And then we provide printing. You could even print from your home if you run out of an ink cartridge or your printer doesn't work. And then we also provide meeting rooms for the public. It could be free for nonprofits like HOAs, or it could be like if you need a birthday party room, you could rent our space. So we had about 410,000 visits last year and 1.3 million items borrowed. Next slide. And then these are just all of the numbers, right? So we had 3,500 education programs last year, 65,000 people attending those programs, 63,000 uses of the internet inside our library branches, with 41,000 wireless internet access use. Our collection provides 280,000 real items that are on our bookshelves. And of the 1.3 million items that circulated last year, 1 million of those items were real items that were on a bookshelf. And then we provide literally billions and billions of items via databases, and that's ebooks, electronic audiobooks, music, movies, and I think the majority of the billions are genealogical records. We provide free access with your library card on that as well. Next slide. Today is the first day to register for Explore Summer Reading Program. So get your kids, your grandkids, all your pals and family, come to the library, get registered, and then read with us for 4 million minutes this summer. And then that's the last slide. It's just my contact information. I'm always available if you want to have a tour of any of our locations, and I'm also here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Your presentations are always very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank
I'm
you.
always impressed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, approval of council ordinance 2025-05, amending the 2025 salary ordinance. And that would be for February 2025 through April of 2025 approvals. I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the salary ordinance 2025-05 as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Mallers, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Outside legal counsel update under old and new business. We had an executive session this evening where we interviewed 2 out of 3 people that, well, let me back up. We narrowed it down to 3 people for live interviews this evening. 1 had an unfortunate incident that they could not come, so I have offered for the other council members to reach out between now and next month. There's really nothing to report on the interviews, and we will, after months and months and months of research and talking and searching for this perfect person, we will make a decision and have a vote moving forward in June. Is there any other old or new business that anyone would like to discuss? Hearing none, I'm open for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Bates, a second by Mrs. Grissomer, and I'm sure all our,
That wasn't me. I didn't make that motion. I don't know who it was.
I was a second.
Mrs. Graves. Amy, don't listen to me.